Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century.
Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone. I'm Amber Garvin, and I am your host this week, and I'm here with my two cohorts, Cindy and Kristen.
Hello!
So this week we are talking about dating and modern technology, and I know this is a topic close to young people's hearts, especially because really millennials and younger can say that they know, probably they have at least one friend that they met online.
Yeah. And even not just in dating, but just meeting people in general.
Just meeting people. And I actually had lunch with a friend the other day and I'm going to date myself again, but I had lunch with a friend the other day that I met on MySpace. Do you guys remember MySpace?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pre-Facebook. Although I think they came out around the same time.
I think they did, but I think the Facebook, wow.
You just dated yourself.
No, it used to be the Facebook.
Facebook was only in college settings, and it was specific to the campus that you attended.
I remember that all
and
too
that's
well.
like most people were on MySpace, and then all of a sudden something happened. Facebook kind of opened up, and everybody started getting on it, and then
MySpace died.
MySpace died. It really did.
Well, I mean, it's actually, I think it used to,
it's
still
there.
Around.
It is still there, but it's really just a site for musicians mostly. The musicians kind of took it over. And it's kind of sad because I really liked some of the aspects of MySpace because it was very customizable, and you could kind of decorate your wall with graphics, and you could put music on it.
Well, you might actually be able to attract someone that's more like you on MySpace than you would Facebook.
Well,
I wouldn't want to attract anyone from Facebook, but since we're talking about dating, to circle the conversation back to dating.
No. Speaking of Facebook and dating, though, Facebook has dating now.
Yeah.
Did y'all know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, Facebook has it's
is that part of the
app.
Meta, the new Meta thing?
No. It's been there like a couple of years, or at least a year. That you can go into the app, and there's like a little section you click on dating, and you can make a dating profile, and it's absolutely free.
Well, it's always had a little thing about where you could put your status.
Yeah, since the beginning, you could put the status, who you're looking for, men or women, or now anything really. But you can actually make a Facebook dating profile.
Wow. That all of this dating, the online dating thing is so foreign to me because
you're the crone.
Well, I am the crone, and basically I got married before there was any such thing as the internet, really. So there was no online dating. Now there were pen pals. We did pen pals. Really dating.
Man, you are really dating yourself.
I know, right? But it's really not that. The thing is it's really not that long ago. I mean,
right.
Mark and I have been married for 33 years. Let me do the math on that. Make sure that's right. Let's see. 88 to 21. Yeah, 33. And sometimes I'm like, is it 33? Is it 32? No, is it 31? But 33 years. This has all come about in that time, and we went from nobody dating that way to everybody uses online dating now. And I'm not even talking young people. I'm talking people my age and older are getting on these.
They have been for a while.
Well, I mean, people. I don't know, and this might be like a commentary on our society, but people don't really want to talk to each other in person anymore. I mean, once they meet somebody, I mean, we are talking in person, right? But we're talking to our audience through a computer. And then like with the internet being as big as it is today, people don't want to meet in person anymore. Like if you go out to a restaurant or go out to a public place, everybody, I feel like the internet has made everybody so awkward that if you go out, you know, to a public movie theater, park, whatever, and you want to meet a single person, you know, they're with their friends and they just kind of look at you and then they don't.
Really, in this day and
awkward.
age, for a man to come up to a woman and just start like giving her
Flirting or
flirtation,
whatever.
it's almost because we're so aware of the dangers of stranger danger. I mean,
Internet
you know,
danger,
our
too.
generation knows, like, okay, if some strange man walks up to you and starts talking to you, you got to get out. I mean,
Right.
some
Yeah,
people
it's
might find that flattering, but for me, like, if some guy just starts talking to me and, like, asks me out on a date, I'm going to say no, because my mom said, don't talk to strangers. You know, but, you know, and I think that's just over the years, the generations, the way we raise our children, and then they raise their children, and they raise their children
Yeah.
to not talk to strangers, and it's not okay to just wander up to people and just start talking to them, because then people feel cornered, and it's not okay for men, you know, or women to
Approach.
solicit,
Yeah,
you know,
solicit,
or
yeah,
approach, or
yeah.
use, you know, those terrible pickup lines.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate. And even more so because people have this fear of the danger of sexual assault,
Well,
and things
and
like
that's
that.
the thing. A lot of people now want to get to know someone before they
even
meet them in person.
Yeah.
And that it's good. You know, it makes it. I think it makes it a little safer.
I wanted to ask you, though, because you are older and you've never dated someone online, have you ever gone on a date with someone that you had no idea who they were, and look back now and thought, wow, if I had had the chance to talk to them online and get to know them more, I could have averted being in a weird,
Creepy.
creepy
absolutely.
situation.
You know, 'cause I'll give a perfect example here. Many years ago, when I was single, I had a membership to Cosmopolitan Spa, and part of my spa membership was that I had the use of the trainers, and I went in one day and I had met the trainer, and he was kind of, you know, helping me and everything, and he asked me out on a date, and I wound up going out on a date with this guy, and it just didn't go well. I felt very awkward, and I wished I hadn't gone. I really wished I hadn't gone. So I think if I had gotten to know him a little better, on, you know, if online had existed or whatever, you know, or even if I hadn't met him online, if it had been in the days of having cell phones, you know, maybe I would have given him my number and we could have texted for a while, and then I would have kind of realized he's just kind of weird, and I might not have
Could
ever
have saved
gone out
yourself
with
a
him.
lot of time.
Yeah.
But I did. I was in an awkward situation with him, you know, and it was, I would never do that, knowing now. But that's kind of what you did back then. You went out on a date. You met someone and you went out on a date. And that's what a date was going out somewhere together to learn about each other. And we don't have to do that anymore.
But it's
I don't
still
know if
nice.
that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do know a lot of people, you know, when people first started meeting online and dating and getting married to people that they met online.
Yeah.
It was very questionable, and everybody was like, is that really a good idea? You know,
Like, can you fall in love with somebody that you met online?
right. Because, you know, people said they fell in love and then they met and started, you know, or whatever. And I will say that we have some family members that met online, and at the time that it happened, we were told, don't tell Mom that I met this person online, blah, 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 because she'll have a
it's kind of a secret at first.
And I'm not going to rat that person out, because I don't know if Mom knows even now that that's what happened. But, it was, it turned out to be a good thing, I think. I mean, they've been together for this person has been together with the person that they met online for many years. They have children together, and they have I guess a happy life. So
I think there are pros and cons to it, because I remember when Yahoo chat rooms, and I'm definitely dating myself now, but I remember when the internet was first readily available. I was probably in middle school, and they had this thing, ancient thing, called Yahoo chat rooms. And I still have friends today that I met on those chat rooms and then met in person, and we're still friends. Or I have some friends up in Washington State that we met on Yahoo chat, and we have talked all of these years, since high school, since middle school. And a couple of them I haven't even met on person, but we still talk online through Facebook, text. I have friends in other states, that I met online. And I think, like, when that stuff came out, I'm from a very small town, and so the opportunity to meet somebody in another state, you didn't really have that opportunity until the internet, unless you went on vacation and met somebody random. Like, I had friends from summer camp that are actually my friends on Facebook that we met years ago in, like, elementary summer camp, and we found each other on Facebook, which was pretty awesome. Right. But and then members of, like, my preschool have found me on Facebook over the years, and we reconnected, and that's really awesome. And family members that I didn't even know existed.
I've met family members online as well. And,
And so, like, I liked the aspect of getting to know somebody in another state, in another town, that, you wouldn't have normally known. I mean, other than, like, the whole pen pal situation, because I've definitely had pen pals.
It makes you more worldly without having
to be around,
to be in the world, because being worldly, 200 years ago was only for a very small select amount of people.
Oh yeah.
And now anyone can be world traveler, worldly by,
in your mind,
learning other people's cultures by connecting with other people. So we're talking about dating and modern technology. So obviously the big ringer, one that everyone knows about, is like Facebook and chat rooms and dating websites. But there's so many other technology things that we can't leave out of this discussion. So I'm going to bring up one, and then if you guys can think of any other ones, definitely chime in. But one of them I absolutely want to mention that might have been nice for you when you were younger and dating, that was around when I was in college, was called don'tdatehimgirl.com. And
I have never heard of that.
I actually, you were talking about chat rooms, and it reminded me of when I was in, college, chatting on a Yahoo chat room, and talking to someone who has actually turned out to be pretty local. And, there wasn't, like, any, like, actual dates that went on, thankfully, because I knew about don'tdatehimgirl.com, and I was able to actually look him up on there. And, and it's nice because people can use email addresses, phone numbers, aliases, and things like that to report people that you might be
a creeper.
Yeah, a creeper, or just somebody
that's married.
Exactly, just really someone, or even let's go on to these scammers that date scammers.
And this is
dating scammers.
This is a whole
That's
other
a whole new
obstacles.
like
Particularly
crazy
with the,
thing.
with
Like
the older people that are dating.
Right. It
yeah.
hits young
The-
people alike too. The scammers out there are a huge, huge
trying to
crisis
get
in the
money
dating
from
world.
lonely men and women.
It really is, because they actually,
So you can't really
will get
trust.
dating website profiles and will talk to people.
Steal people's names and pictures.
Right. And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
all comfortable and love to get to know someone by just talking to them in a chat room, and you're like, hey, I want to get to know this guy, and I'm just going to chat with him for a couple of months and see how it goes. And if he sticks around and he's interesting, then I might meet him. Well, you could waste 2 whole months talking to someone who's not even from this country, who's using someone else's, what do they call it, catfishing.
Yeah, catfishing.
So
and,
definitely check out don'tdatehimgirl.com. There's
And-
probably one for dudes also, but I don't know. I apologize. I don't have that one. But I think that's a plus side. It's a necessary evil, I guess, that we have to have that fail-safe because of the way dating now is. I remember whenever I was growing up, you used to read those Laura Ingalls Wilder books to me. It's about a girl that lived in the 1800s, post-Civil War, and, as she's getting older, from like age 8 to adulthood, and one of the last books or so is when she meets the man that becomes her husband, and their idea of dating was him picking her up on his sleigh to take her home from the school. She was the teacher at the school.
And they didn't even talk about it being dating. They didn't even
It
call it dating.
wasn't called dating,
yeah.
but he was kind of courting her by giving her a ride. And one of the things that I remembered in that time period was that they had those name cards that they traded.
Yes.
And so instead
They're
of
kind
like
the little name cards that go in your graduation.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Invitations. Yes.
And I just thought that was really interesting that was kind of a thing. They swapped name cards. And now we're like, swapping phone numbers
Or
and DMing each other and
if you don't want to swap your phone number,
unrequested photos sent to our cell phones from the opposite sex.
that is actually illegal now. So
Great. That's great.
But they have made that illegal to get unsolicited photos from somebody that you didn't ask for.
Are we talking explicit
Yes,
photos?
explicit photos.
Probably any photos
Yeah, but
at this
that
point,
would
but
be
the
considered
explicit
exposure.
Ones, yeah.
Well, it is. It is
Yeah.
a form of exposure, and that's what that is.
It is a
that's
form of
illegal
sexual
now
harassment.
It
because,
is, and be aware of that. Report those people. Don't let that stuff go.
Also, like the scammers, definitely report them. I hate to circle back to this, but I was just sitting here thinking that, like, in my trials with online dating, I've run across a lot of scammers, like especially those from the military, which makes you kind of wary of military scammers because they will steal military pictures and
those don't come up just on dating things too. I get those on Facebook. I get those on
Instagram.
Pinterest, on Instagram, on my
Fitbit. Oh my God, I get invitations on my Fitbit every day.
Like
And
there
it's
are
always
scammers on Fitbit.
Yes, they want to. What does the message say? They want to get to know you better, or
so they want you to help them get fit with Fitbit.
I'm like, I am not helping you get fit, Mister.
That I have never gotten that on Fitbit. That is crazy.
I get them all the time.
Oh my God, I have never. I've gotten some weird messages that have gone into my spam, like on Facebook Messenger, and then
I get lots of those too.
Snapchat. A lot of like random people will add you and then try to send you weird messages.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's kind of like standing out in the park with your friends in the 80s and some random guy walking up to you and saying, "Hey, cutie, is he a good guy, or is he a con artist, or is he a creeper?"
You don't know.
It's the same, but instead of it being in person, it's online.
It's a lot harder to tell
I think
online.
That's different though, in person, like when I was, 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever, before I was married to my current husband, the that guy that came up to you, that random guy that came up to you in the park, could be, sometimes you could tell by looking at them, but they really could be an authentic suitor, they really could be. But with the online dating, chances are, if they're a random person contacting you, it is not. And that's the sad thing.
Yeah, because there are so many scammers out there. And then there are so many, like, as I said before, this generation is breeding more and more awkward people that don't really leave their house because they're on their phone and on their computer. And so really the only way to meet somebody is online because it's just so awkward to go to a public place. My
son is a perfect example of this. And Kristen and I have threatened many times to make him a Match.com
poor guy
profile because he's a gamer.
He's still single, by the way, ladies.
Oh, and he's really cute and
very handsome,
and he makes good money.
Yeah,
he's
a catch.
He's very shy, and he likes to play video games. And he probably meets people on video games, but he's not a go-getter with the girls. He's kind of oblivious to when girls are interested in him. And a perfect example of this is when he was in high school, and I'm totally throwing him under the bus here because it's so funny. He was a senior in the orchestra, and he was pretty cute. And he would take his lunch down in the orchestra room. And so he'd go get his lunch and go sit in the orchestra room, and some of the girls and the underclasses would either have lunch at that same time, or they had some kind of orchestra, or like a office helper period or something like that. And they would come in and they would just flirt with him all the time, and he was oblivious. And in fact, the orchestra director was telling me about how she came in one day and he was sitting there surrounded by this bevy of girls, and they're like combing his hair and talking to
his
him.
long hair.
He had long hair, and they were just petting his hair, and they were surrounding him and just talking to him. And he was just totally oblivious that they were fawning on him because they thought he was cute. And, he just had no clue. And he did actually wind up dating one of those guys through his senior year. Or one of those guys. Oh, man. Sorry, Stephen. She was a girl, and she was very cute. And if they were still dating, I would be totally happy with it because I loved her. But anyway, he started dating one of these girls. And she was the one who instigated it. She had to instigate it because he was just totally not that. So we've talked about this, about setting him up, because I don't think he ever will instigate any kind of dating situation, just because it just doesn't occur to him that, oh, here's an opportunity to ask a girl out.
And that's a good point too, because in the person to person scenarios, up until recently, women really weren't seen as couth to be the person to instigate it. It almost put them in a bad light, I guess, because of generational thought on.
Sometimes it still does, though. Like, there's still that antiquated thought in where guys want to be the pursuer.
Right.
If a girl messages first, she only wants one thing.
I mean, there's a lot of like rules unwritten rules about the behaviors of, messaging and chatting and calling and stuff. But even that, just having a woman go up to a man and say, "Hey, I think you're handsome. We should go on a date." Sometimes that seems bizarre, but online, I think it's a little bit more forgiving and allows women the chance to be more forward and
I think so too,
and go after what they want,
because you're just chatting.
Yeah,
you're not
you're behind a
instigating
screen. You're not in person. You're not like seeing the look.
Well, and you're not initiating a person to person contact. You're there's some distancing there.
Yeah.
So it's more innocent, and it's easy to keep it in that box of platonic,
yes,
or whatever.
And it doesn't have to be superficial too. Whenever I was doing online dating, I loved reading people's profiles, especially the ones that actually put a lot of thought into it. The more words, the better. I just really enjoyed a profile where he would talk about like his interests in depth instead of just like a list of things like that everybody loves, like movies. And I would enjoy the ability to be daring and just message them and be like, hey, I really like your thoughts on why this character in this book is so great, and you know, your experiences in this country or whatever. That's really cool. You know, I'd like to talk more about that. It's not like going up to someone in a park and you know absolutely nothing about them. It's all based on looks, what you see. Like, hey, you look hot.
Or meeting someone in a bar.
I like your dog.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it is. It's more based on, and that's one of the great things about the dating websites like eHarmony or Match.com or whatever, that they have developed these profile matching systems,
right,
to really help you connect to somebody on that deeper level. And so that's kind of why, you know, I keep thinking about really working, you know, talking my son into doing one, because I think he could develop, even if it's not a romantic relationship, maybe he can develop some friendships with some girls.
Or at least it's a good way to practice chatting with people.
Well, and
we
talked about this too, that, you know, in life during COVID, you know, that was a perfect time to have started e-dating, because you didn't have to meet with anybody.
Don't have to go. Yeah. And that was the nice thing, too, about COVID, too, is that there's no pressure. And that's one thing I can say that we get a little bit spoiled with online dating, and we feel like we're safe in our little bubble. But there are some people that really pressure you to meet you. You have to be wary of those people, of course, because what is their intention? If they're such in a hurry to meet you in person, then why are you online dating? But that's my soapbox that I'm not going to, you know, get all up into. But
I mean, yeah, it is kind of like those insistent people are kind of creepy.
But, you know, right now, if you're on the fence about online dating, it's a great time. You can get online dating, get a profile going, and then say, due to COVID, social distancing, I am not looking to be meeting any people in person. I would love to keep it completely online for the time being until conditions are safer.
Right.
And you can use that as a crutch if you want to use that because you're not ready to get out there socially, like in person, and you want to practice talking with people online first before you jump out and start dating people in person. That's a really good way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so.
To do that. That's a great way to do it. And, you know, I'm going to say that, yes, there are a lot of cons, and we're talking about a lot of the cons right now, but there's pros to online dating. I would never have met my husband.
I was about to say, tell us your story, Kristen. Tell us your story.
The blog obviously is going to have a lot of the details on there, but if you haven't got a chance to read it, you know, Travis and I met on Match.com, and that was probably like my third or fourth dating website profile. I had met several other people that I was in long-term relationships with before. It is not a one-time thing. You will meet a lot, just like dating in person or speed dating. It's a lot like speed dating. You're going to speed through a bunch of them really quickly, and then some of them you might linger for a while before you realize that they're not the one for you, but it's definitely worth a try. I literally probably would still not be married if I did not do online dating, because I spend a lot of time at work, but I have a very strict rule about dating people at work. I had tried that once and it did not go well. And so I made a rule to never do that ever again. And also, you know, being in a leadership position, you just can't. You cannot have relationship with people at work. So, you know, being in management also, you know, makes that impossible. also, if your hobbies don't have, the gender that you want to date, I scrapbook. I spend a lot of my hobby time with married women who already have kids or grandkids, and oftentimes, sometimes I'm the youngest person there, and
their kids aren't old enough to say, "Hey, I've got a son that you should meet."
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and then still it would be like an awkward blind date, right?
Right.
So I was having a hard time meeting someone, and I don't believe that going to a bar and meeting someone in a bar is an appropriate place to find someone. I'm not saying that going to a bar is a bad thing, but I'm not a big proponent of bars anyways.
Right.
But, there's nothing wrong with drinking alcohol, and there's nothing wrong with getting together with people, having fun, or going dancing. But people who are constantly looking for someone to date at a bar might be running into an issue where you might find someone that's not as desirable once you've been in a relationship for a while. And that is because I do know people who date people in the bar scene, and I have not met a single person who's met someone at a bar and it turned out good. I don't know if either you may have. Okay.
You have a family member who did.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And they've been married for a long time.
Okay. So I do know one person, but that's probably someone that's quite a lot older than me, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So, and that was where the dating scene was. But nowadays, I don't really think the bar scene is the best place. If you're looking for in-person dating, you need to be in a club. You need to go to a church. You need to have some kind of activity that you really enjoy that is you. That's outside of work. And if you don't have that, where are you going to meet somebody?
Yeah.
There are actually social websites.
Yes.
And apps. One of them specifically is called Meet Me, I think, where you can join a club and meet in person and go to. And I know Facebook has some groups.
Yeah.
I am a member of a women's meetup group on Facebook. I no longer meet up because I don't live in the town that I'm a member of, but I'm still an admin of that page. Long story. But there are Facebook groups and there are Meet Me websites where you can meet up with people of similar interests, not for date, but just to hang out as friends.
Yeah.
Friendship,
Meetup is a primary. Yeah. Meetup.com is one of those. There's another one, I can't remember, it's Single Adventures.
Yes. That one actually, I believe, is
Adventures.
Advents and Adventures. I believe that was established here in the Dallas area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was.
And that one is just for people who want to go do things
and don't have friends that want to do things with them
to do those things, and they're mostly single people.
And they actually have more than one event going on every single day of the calendar.
Oh yeah, so they've got lots
that one
of things
is that is definitely dating with modern technology, because you could not have that
friendship
business
with modern technology.
Yeah, that business or that service that she offers with that company would not be possible without technology that we have today.
Meetup.com also is the same thing, because for those of you who aren't familiar with Meetup.com, I actually used to use that in my business to get scrapbookers together to meet up in person to do different scrapbooking events, and there's every kind of group.
It's like Facebook groups, but more refined and less chatty.
Yeah,
and it's more like actually
there's
meeting
no
in person.
ads like Facebook and things like that. So you find groups that are doing things that are among your interests. So there's reading groups, and there's drinking groups, and there's dancing groups. And
I was a member of a film club through Meetup, and we would meet up and watch movies.
Well, and I was part of an entrepreneurial meetup group, and we did things to, help each other's businesses
owners
or whatever.
And local business owners. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and and then like I said, I did it for a long time with my scrapbooking group. So we had events that way also. So.
I'm curious what other things, technology, things, I can't think of the word to save my life, but pieces of technology that we have today, that make the dating world different. Not just like online dating, but other pieces of technology.
Cell phones.
Right.
Computers.
Zoom.
Oh, yeah. That is a game changer right there.
Yeah.
Oh, FaceTime.
FaceTime. Yeah, those things definitely, text messaging, in my day, you had to pick up the phone and hope they answered, or
and then then later on, you were lucky when they had voicemail and caller ID. Let me also just say that your relationship isn't official unless it's Facebook official. That became like a serious thing to consider.
I mean, or at least like telling people. I mean, I guess that's what Facebook official is, quote unquote, is telling people that you are with somebody else or you're talking to somebody else. But that's a big
deal now. When you're in a serious relationship, how serious is it if one person doesn't want to post it on Facebook? Yeah. And that's something that
that's also
wasn't
sometimes a warning sign.
Well, yes, but I'm also saying that's a issue that people experience now that we didn't have like 30 years ago. I'm sure there was other things similar to that, like not wanting to introduce someone to your family.
Giving like a pin or a ring or something like that, like going steady, giving a pin, the school pin. That Facebook official is like the equivalent of giving the school pin and the school ring, the class ring.
Oh, the class ring, or wearing Johnny's jacket.
Or wearing the jacket.
His leather jacket. Thank you, Amber. Yes, you just found the 1950s equivalent to Facebook serious relationship. That means,
like, if you're wearing Johnny's jacket, now it's Facebook.
That's Johnny's jacket.
Everybody knows they're dating, so now it's Facebook official. Everybody knows.
Right.
That you're
and
dating.
Facebook has become the standard, also a lot of times for the LGBTQ community to come out. Mm-hmm. And I know that's a tricky subject for you, so I won't go any further with that. But that's a big deal too, and that has changed technology as well.
And relationships,
changed relationships and has been changed by
technology. It has made it easier for LGBTQ plus people to come out.
Right. I think so too. For which I'm very grateful.
And online dating. Oh my gosh, because they don't have to
they don't have to go to the
secret
bar or
secret signs
place,
on their outfit, like wearing a bandana somewhere or something to signify
or an earring.
Exactly. Yes, you can just be you and
online.
Find other people online that are like you. The World Wide Web, and you think about like a spider, when they have a web, it's this huge, spindle of their fiber that goes from one place to the other, and the spider can feel something touch its web from all over. And you think about when you're putting yourself out there to the world online for online dating, you're not just in your local community anymore. You're not looking, in your 1,300 population town for your soulmate. You can find your soulmate anywhere on this planet. Just about almost all of the planet has access to the internet now. Mm-hmm. And you can meet anybody.
Yeah, it's kind of profound. It's very profound. And obviously there's lots of good things and bad things about it. I do want to touch on the scammers, because we've talked about the fact that there are scammers. I don't think we've talked about as much what kind of scammers there are, and I wanted to bring a couple of those up, because
definitely,
particularly for any of our older listeners, because I have some friends who are older who did online dating and ran into some of these kinds of issues, and they when it first happened, they were like, "Is this for real?" And what I'm talking about is the ones they've been in this conversation with this person for like 3 weeks, and they've been talking back and forth, and and they're maybe getting close to meeting this person or something. And in this particular instance, the person that she was talking to said they had to go out of town for business, and she wouldn't hear from him for a couple of days. And so, okay, so she's going on about her life. Well, she gets this panicked text message or phone. They may have been on phone calls by this point. I'm not sure. And the call was that I'm stuck in this country, and this person was a businessman, and he was an importer of goods, and his
I think we talked to the same guy.
This story was that he was stuck in this other country. He was trying to import some goods, and his stuff had been impounded, and somebody stole his credit card, and so he couldn't access any of his money. Could she wire him X number of dollars, and he'd pay her back? He's been grooming her. Grooming, that is the term. He has been grooming her for weeks and weeks and weeks so that he could pop this question on her. Can you wire me this much money so that I can get my product out of impound?
So we can be together.
And and then I can hurry up and come back. But I'm stuck here until I can get my stuff out of blah, blah, blah. And she sent me the text message or whatever it was, and I was like, or she sent me a text message and told me what was going on. And she was like, should I question this? Should I be, and she's older. She's not that much older than me. But she was older enough to, this internet stuff did not exist when she was a young woman. Mm-hmm. And, she had not ever run across anything like this before. And, sure enough, this turned out to totally be a scam. But she kind of asked him some leading questions, and I mean, he milked it for all it was worth. And, kept the conversation going for a day or more. And it became very obvious that that's what it was, and she turned him into the police. But this happens more often than you know, and they
it's
usually
not really reported.
Well, she did report it.
Well, I mean, but like a lot of people are embarrassed to report
it. Oh yeah, they're embarrassed that they don't report it,
especially men that get scammed by women.
Oh yeah, and it happens, and they will find your weakness. It's not always going to be the guy in another country it could be a girl who went to California with her best friend, and her best friend left her in California, and she can't get back home, and she's not safe, and she doesn't have a hotel room, and she doesn't have anywhere to stay. Can you rescue me by sending me some money?
Right.
And that very what's the word I'm looking for? Crap. The gentleman, that he is going to, he's going to feel like he needs to rescue her, and he'll fall for that. He'll send her the money, and it could be an older woman that he's talking to. It could be a younger woman that he's talking to, but really chances are the person he's talking to is somebody over in a foreign country. And I'm not going to name the foreign countries because that would not be appropriate, but they're usually in a foreign country, and they are just pretending to be a U.S. citizen, doing this. And they know who to target and how to target them. So they're going to target men who are chivalrous. That's the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Sorry, crone here. The words kind of go away. So they know how to find the chivalrous man by reading those profiles. They can tell who is going to be that kind of guy. They know how to find the young, innocent young girl, and pull whatever scam works on young girls. They know how to find the older, divorcee or whatever. So
it's not just one person either. Like,
No.
these scammers work together
Oh, yeah.
in teams. And if you
It's
are
a
good
business
at, yeah,
in those countries.
If you are good at, say, reading nuances in speech, as far as, I mean, I'm an English teacher, so of course it's pretty easy if you just kind of, especially if you read a lot of stuff, you can spot scammers by, like, if
Their grammar.
Yes, their grammar, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And you can definitely spot it if it's multiple people.
Oh, because they will use
typing you, because they'll use different words
and
way to speech. But you have to be, you have to really, like, if this person seems too good to be true, then you really need to read in between the lines, basically, of the messages that you are receiving. Any kind of weird off thing that doesn't click to you, and if it's something that, especially if it's something that's repeated, like something simple, like grammar, like one word,
right.
Because they practice imperfect grammar as well. But sometimes you can tell it's different people every time talking to you, just by some of the things that they say or some of the things that they slip up, because they're not 100% perfect.
Right. And they're creating this character. So if they say they're from Philly, then ask them to tell you about Philly.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to drill them, but really drill them. You need
What's your favorite place to go to? Or
don't let them just keep showering you with compliments and telling you how much they love you, because that's the grooming part. You need to have substance in your conversations, because the people that are pretending to be someone else from another country, they don't know half the stuff they're talking about.
Right.
Because they're not from Philly, and they don't know the difference in the debate about American cheese or whatever, cheese whiz.
Whether you put
and
cheese whiz on a Philly sandwich, yeah.
Right. They don't know that. And so when you talk to someone who says they grew up in Philly all their life and they have a funny accent, so you're like, well, he doesn't have a Philly accent, and he doesn't know whether he wants cheese whiz or provolone, and he's not offended by one or the other, then maybe he's not really from Philly.
Yeah.
And especially you can also look at their profile pictures, like, say, for example, back when I was online dating, there was a guy from Carrollton, Texas, and I lived in Denton at the time, and there was a guy from Carrollton, Texas, really nice, not too buff, nerdy-ish guy that had a good job, and we talked and everything like that, and, there would be something a little bit off occasionally about, like, his grammar, or, like I said, I noticed things like that, but I give him the benefit of the doubt, but, like, the pictures on his profile that he sent seemed a little bit too fantastical, I guess.
For a guy living in Carrollton.
Yeah, and so, and, he was always away on business, so to speak, like in another state, whenever it was like, hey, I'm going to be in Carrollton, because my, best friends live in Carrollton, like, hey, I'm going to be in Carrollton. Oh, well, I had a business trip out of town. So, those are other red flags.
Yeah.
And at this point, like, I knew he was a scammer, but I started messing with him a bit, like trying to get him to admit it, or
get him to trip up. Yeah.
Get him to trip up and say different things, because he told me that he grew up in a state that I lived in, Utah. So I know a lot of things about Utah. So I started asking him questions about Utah. And of course, his answers didn't add up, because they were questions that I knew And obviously he didn't. He was somebody that lived in another country or whatever. And I started looking at his pictures to see, like maybe. So I did like the reverse picture lookup, and it turned out like his pictures were of some Brazilian news anchor.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, and so
Blatant, like
I'm
really
that's
somebody else.
Choice, right?
I know, right?
Well, the reason that it like kind of like got to me was that he was wearing, like in one of his pictures, he was wearing some kind of clothing brand that I did not recognize.
Uh-huh.
So I Googled the clothing brand because I was still trying to get him to trip up. And finally, eventually, I got tired of messing with him, and I was just like, okay, dude, I know your pictures are of this guy. What country are you from? And then he blocked me. So,
yep. I have one I want to share before we wrap up. This one is, you're talking about the elderly being a victim of this, and you are, of the, young generation of millennial, Generation X, in between. We're also victims of that. I don't think anyone is not a victim of this. I imagine there's people all over the world who are victims of this too, not just Americans.
All ages, all
and they're not just
always out
looking for money,
and
either.
It's not even
There's
just people dating either. Yeah, there's scammers.
Friendship.
I mean, we know that, but one that just has really bothered my heart for the longest time is one of my really good friends. Her brother-in-law has autism, and he's he's probably in his late 20s, and after seeing his brother get married and be happy and living a wonderful married life, he was starting to feel lonely, and he realized he wanted to online date, and that's where his brother had met his wife was online. So he thought, I'm gonna do like my big brother did, and I'm gonna find me a girl online. And he actually was approached by a female, and she had swindled him out of a lot of money. Yeah. And it was really sad because he did not understand that she was not a real person. And she was having him send, or it is just she, it probably wasn't even a she. We really think it was a man. And they were having him send money, like he bought her plane tickets, and they were going and like refunding the money.
Oh yeah.
And keeping the money. Common. And, and there's Zelle and stuff like that out there now. And he was sending her money constantly because he just really believed that she was going to get on that plane and show up. And he went all the way to the airport, and she didn't show up. And his heart was just so broken.
And that's why it's important to make sure that we educate our
friends and family,
and our friends and family, about the dangers of this, and
and if you are talking to people online, you really should find a safe person that you can confide in,
that you trust,
and just let them know, hey, I just started talking to this guy. Amber and I, we used to always do that. I'd be like, hey, look at his profile. What do you think? Here's this guy I'm talking to. I always knew who Amber was chatting with, and she always knew who I was chatting with.
And that was what my friend did with me when she had
out on a date. Always tell a friend.
Oh, absolutely. Have a backup plan.
And now on your phone, you can share your location.
Yes.
So, if
you do meet somebody in person,
So up until I met my boyfriend, like if I went on a date or whatever, I would text Kristen and be like, I'm going on a date and we're going to be at this location. If you don't hear from me, I'm not alive anymore.
Well, and that's another a valid thing that I've also seen. People will tell their friend, call me at this time. And that's your way you can
opt out of the date by saying, oh, I got to go. My friend
needs me right now. Whatever.
Your rain check or whatever.
That's a way to get out of it. Or you can say, I really can't help you right now, Amber. I'm having a great time. Whatever, Yeah, but that is a great way to do that. And again, like I said, just
always let somebody know.
Let somebody know, and really let's educate our young people. Young people are really naive about the things, and it's not just people over the age of 18 that are out there online dating. That, there's lots of 13 and 14-year-olds that are meeting people online,
chatting in the Roblox video game,
right? And one of the other dangers of online dating or online meeting people is that sometimes these are very young people being groomed by pedophiles,
yes,
or human
sex
traffickers.
Yeah, human traffickers.
And so we want to make sure that that the people that you love are not victims of that. Mm-hmm. And yes, let's keep them safe. Let's educate people about the dangers. Find your safety measures.
Parents, make sure you know who your kids are talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And let's just all be safe out there. Let's do that. And
bottom line,
that's it. So coming up next week, Kristen is our hostess. And
we're talking about oracle cards. So you have probably heard a couple of our little segments, Excuse Me While I Read My Tarot. We are going to be discussing oracle cards this time and the fun ways to use them, and just kind of explaining what they are. So we hope that you join us next week. We really look forward to this fun segment.
One. Yeah. That'll be fun. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of a departure. So something a little less serious and more fun.
Yeah.
And, all right. Well, that's it. We want to thank Red Door Studios, Mark Murray, and
Rimshot Graphics.
So, yes. Mark Murray is from Creative Audio Tech. He did all of our music for us, and he gives us some help with our audio. And then we've got the equipment and the logos from Red Door and John at Rimshot Graphics. So, thank you guys so much for your help and assistance. And
wait. We also want to continue the conversation on social media.
Yeah.
So if you have a story that you want to tell about online dating or scamming,
either
or anything
good
like
or
that,
bad, we want to hear good or bad.
We want to talk to you about it. So join us on Facebook, join us on Instagram,
come comment on those blog posts.
Comment on our blogs, and we want to talk to you.
Us in Facebook, because we do want you guys to talk to us. The whole point of our podcast is conversations. It's conversations with the Maiden, Mother, and Crone. So we want you guys to post, send us your info, talk to us, and we keep it safe there. So
yes,
that's it for this week.
Signing off.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.